Hey sis, how are you this evening? This is your financial liberation expert, Kivette Minor Kane, and I'm here with wealthy women on this wonderful afternoon. We are doing this live cast today, and we're going to be talking about money talks, BS walks. It's the second Wednesday of the month. And so that is our topic. And we're going to be talking about actually cryptocurrency today as we pull together our conversation around money and how we can continue to make our money work for us and continue to grow for us. So, Wealthy Women is where we chat with pros and experts about maintaining wellness, growing wealth, and celebrating womanhood. Life is an amazing adventure, and our goal here is to give you a valuable pit stop to refuel, refill, and refresh. Every Wednesday, you can join me live on Facebook or YouTube by searching for More and More Life, and be sure to like our page and subscribe to our YouTube channel. So I am Kivette Minor Kane, again, your financial liberation expert. I guide women on their journey to self-sufficiency by encouraging you about how to transform your mindset in order to transform your money management to create the reality of your dreams. You're able to make better decisions, create better habits, and experience a higher quality of life in harmony with your purpose. And so today we have with us another special guest, of course. This gentleman was with us on our first Wealthy Women Money Talks BS Walks. And we were talking about cryptocurrency just from the basic level, talking about, blockchain technology and, why is cryptocurrency important for us, especially as women, why we should know about this. We are the spenders of the world. And so we need to recognize what currency is going to be available for us moving into the future and how the value of that currency is going to affect our spending. All right. So especially as you're doing your budgeting every month and you're doing your annual reviews on your complete financial picture, you want to make sure that you are aware of what are the options, including any digital options, our investment options, our making sure that we understand where we're putting our money so that it can continue to grow and work for us. And so let me just reintroduce to you here Mr. Husan Thompson. And he is a STEAM educator. And so that is science, technology, engineering, some of the arts, and our mathematics, but he's been in that field for over 20 years. His extensive experience in student achievement, professional development, and direct classroom instruction includes familiarity with various state systems, district sizes, student demographics. And so when he jumped into the cryptocurrency space, he discovered two important facts. First, success in cryptocurrency requires high levels of financial literacy and education. And that's why we're here. We're here to make sure that you ladies receive the financial education that you require in order to operate on a level of financial literacy that will help you to be successful or encourage you to be successful. So second, most cryptocurrency experts are terrible at providing educational value to people who are new in the space. Well, because they get so caught up in, there's a whole nother language that we have to learn here. There's a whole nother, method of thinking in terms of, what is a wallet and, how do you put your money in the bank and how do you take your money out of the bank, that kind of thing. But being able to understand how all that operates in a digital space and what does the real estate look like? Yeah, there's some real estate investing going on in a digital world that we need to know about. And so Husan is here to help lifelong learners embrace the fourth industrial revolution. He believes that cryptocurrency is the foundational layer for the future world we want. And so we're going to bring in Mr. Husan Thompson and get some information on what is going on lately with cryptocurrency. So, we know that we've recently celebrated or memorialized or commemorated. Let me get my language straight. We recently commemorated the destruction of Black Wall Street back in 1921. This was a 100-year celebration. And I think a very fabulous thing is that Mr. Hill Harper and Miss Naja Roberts came together in partnership to create a Black-owned cryptocurrency platform.
Right.
And so we're going to, kind of pick your brain to understand a little bit more about, well, what is this space? How is it working? And how do we jump in? How can we get involved, and what do we need to do? What do we need to pay attention to as we're going through this process so that we're not, lost in limbo or frozen in confusion, but that we're able to feel confident and reassured about what our next moves are moving forward with our money. So tell us a little bit about what you know about the Black Wall Street, please, Husan.
Sure. First, thank you for having me. It's really an honor to share space with you and to have the privilege to be able to share what I know to you and your audience. The Black Wall Street exchange is what it is a great opportunity for people who are new to crypto. I think the Black Wall Street has the potential to help onboard and educate people in our community who are ready to step into real wealth. So I'm excited about what they're doing. Full disclosure, none of this is financial advice, but at the same time, I do know that we got to share the financial education so that folks are really ready for what this new future of money looks like. And the Black Wall Street exchange is really a way for people to do that. So I'm excited. At the same time, though, it is a new platform, and it is full of competitors who have more services and more options. But when it comes to getting out members of our community onboarded in the digital space, I think that the Black Wall Street has a bigger mission and maybe a larger focus on really getting our people into the digital landscape. So for that reason, I'm very excited about what they're doing.
Absolutely. And can I just add in there, in that effort, Miss Naja Roberts actually did a full tour where she went live and local around the country to different hotspots and major cities, Black hubs, Black cities, Black urban areas, where she was able to reach our community on a face-to-face basis. If you look her up online, connect with her on Twitter and on Facebook and Instagram, you'll be able to see, and especially on YouTube, you'll be able to see some of those videos. And I'm talking to our audience now. Ladies, connect with Naja Roberts because she's got some fantastic, fantabulous information and giving us insight from a woman's perspective. She's been around since the inception of cryptocurrency. She was, and I love this quote when she was talking in one interview. She said she was one of two Black faces in an audience of thousands.
Wow.
When cryptocurrency first was introduced and there was a convention, and she looked around and she's like, where's my family? Where's my people? I don't see my brothers and sisters here.
I'm just so excited about what Naja is doing because she found herself in that unique space, but then took it upon herself to make it a mission and really get out there to our community. And I think that's the kind of model that you're demonstrating as well, letting powerful Black women get into the marketplace and lead. And I'm just excited about what you're doing. The other thing that I like about Naja is that she's based in California. So if any of your viewers are in the Los Angeles area, she's headquartered right there, I think in Inglewood. And she is also a certified over-the-counter trader, which means if you're not comfortable with all of this wallet stuff, she is actually certified to be able to take your order. You can tell her over the counter what you would like. Wow. She will put that order and that crypto will actually go into your personal wallet. She doesn't hold it in that trading platform. So it's really a benefit that she's doing for the community. I'm excited about her work.
That's fabulous. Absolutely. Because she has now become a resource for us into this community that we might not otherwise have access to for lack of knowledge. And the fact that she was there from the very beginning helps us to understand that she's got an integral perspective in terms of what the foundation was when it first started and how it's continued to grow over a period of time. Having that perspective in history means a lot. And so it's very insightful for us to be able to look back. And so you helped us to do that on our last show, where you talked about the history of, where Bitcoin came from and how digital, currency came about and what blockchain technology really looks like. But today we want to go in a little bit more and talk about what some of those currencies, the more popular currencies, look like today, and what are the differences that we need to pay attention to and how it's significant for us. As well as we want to talk about the Black Wall Street and our own experiences in attempting to get set up on the platform so far, and how we can encourage others. So
well, maybe we can start there, because I think one of the most important things to do for all of us who are in this space right now is to get started. Sometimes we overthink and don't really get into the action phase. And at the same time, though, we got to be careful, because if we jump in too quick, we might end up with one of these meme coins, or some people call them poop coins. And then you put your hard money in and then it blows up on you and you have less than what you started with. So being in the space, courageous enough to move forward, but also wise enough to know not to go too fast is, I think, a critical step. So when we think about what are some good first steps, then usually the safest and easiest way to get, quote unquote, onboarded into the cryptocurrency space is to find an exchange. Some simple exchanges could include your Cash App. You can actually get cryptocurrency on your own Cash App. Technically, you can do it through Venmo and PayPal, but I do not recommend those sources at all. Technically, you could do it through Coinbase, and Coinbase is actually quite convenient. However, I want to be critical of them because they have some political positions that I know are not in alignment with my community. So it's not really a place that I prefer to go. I have used it. I still have an account. But then along those same lines, you have the Black Wall Street Exchange. The Black Wall Street Exchange, and I've onboarded to their exchange as far as I know, and maybe you could tell me, the only cryptocurrency that's available is Bitcoin. Was that the experience that you had? Okay, right.
Yes, that's what I've seen that's available so far. They're still setting up the platform. And of course, Harper mentioned that they're going to have all of the different digital currencies available at some point, but they're in the growing stages. And so right now, the most important thing that we can do is to get registered.
Now, when you register, you might have some technical things. I'll be honest with you, Kevette, I had a challenge onboarding, actually. The way that the app is designed, and I have an iOS, so I'm a bit surprised, but some of the instructions for setting up your password were actually cut off, so I couldn't read it. And when I set up my passwords, I usually do very long, intricate passwords just as a security basic. So my passwords can be 16 or 20 characters long. But then they said 8. I didn't know if I was breaking the rules. Like, I really didn't know what to do. So I tried and I failed. But then I followed up with you, actually. And you said that you were successful. And that gave me the courage not to just quit. And I said, okay, well, let me just try again. And the second time I tried, I was able to get on successfully. So it might be a little bit of I had a few bumps along the road, but I was finally able to do it. What about you? How was your experience?
Well, I'm still waiting I was able to input all of my information with no problem. And then I checked to see whether or not my account was established, and I actually have to contact support because my data was there was some complication with it. And I really believe it's some basic information dealing with, address, driver's license, that kind of stuff. So y'all make sure that you got all the correct information, because they're very strict about making sure that you're being honest and honorable about who you are. They want to make sure that you're able to have the correct tax reporting information. And so that is absolutely key. And that they're able to, send information to a real person. The challenge with, I think, being in a digital space is that there are so many who will maybe take an opportunity to be either fraudulent or will take advantage of the space to manipulate it and not the way that it was intended to be used. And so I know that Hill, even on that Monday, May 31st, when they did the broadcast from Tulsa, he was saying that he is absolutely, they have put in so much security. They have a Black security agency who has been developed, who has been, working with their cybersecurity. They've got a Black developer who has been creating the platform. So, this is black on black on black, y'all. Blackity black.
Let's go.
Black to the core. Absolutely.
I think that's very critical, because in our space, it's good to know that we have our people working. Sometimes Black people are the face of a organization or a project, but not really running the show. And so knowing that is really, really exciting news. But you bring up something interesting, and I think it can be a educational value to your audience, which is about KYC. Now, Coinbase, Cash App, Bitrue, Crypto.com, and then the Black Wall Street app. And before I continue, be careful with the Black Wall Street app. There, when you search for it on your marketplace, there may be a few that use the same term, Black Wall Street. Mm-hmm. So this particular app has what looks like a half moon, like a golden half moon or sun, with some lines going through it. So just make sure you're selecting the correct app.
And let me add there that they can look for the company that created the app. The app is the Black Wall Street, but the name of the company is Hill Harper's Black Wall Street. And because his name is connected to it, you'll have the correct one.
All right. So that's, I think, very important, because in this space, even putting in a slightly different website could take you to a website that looks functional, but you might end up on some scammer site. So just make sure you're going to the right place. Now, with that said, we call these types of exchanges hot wallets. They're actually the hottest wallet. So I just wanted to explain what that means. Mm-hmm. When you download the app and then you finally decide to get some of your money onto this exchange, you're going to have to do what is called the KYC process. And what that means is know your customer. The government has made it mandatory for organizations like this to ensure, as you had mentioned, that we're not dealing with fraudulent characters, that it's actually the person themselves. And so they do secure your identifying information just to ensure and validate that it is authentically you. Now, having this hot wallet and giving over your identifying information is just part of the process. So if you go to one of these exchanges, I don't want you to be nervous. It is their responsibility, therefore, to manage your transactions, watch everything that you do to ensure that you get at the end of the year a report in case you owe taxes. They're taking care of all of that for you. They're going to do these transactions on your behalf, hold on to your cryptocurrency on your behalf. And when you ask for it back, they promise to give you your cryptocurrency back. Now, this is the agreement that you guys have, but there are a few things to keep in mind. And this is why we call it the hottest wallet, because it's actually a bit dangerous. The thing to keep in mind is you actually don't have what are called the private keys. You enter into an agreement with whether it's Black Wall Street or Coinbase or Crypto.com, whichever. They will hold your keys and manage all of your transactions on your behalf. And so just remember, you're giving your responsibility to them. At the same time, you get all of those conveniences. And so there is a bit of a trade-off there.
So question. You said we're giving our responsibility to them. What responsibility is that?
Well, I'll give you an example. There was an exchange many years ago called Mt. Gox, and they did very similar things to what these exchanges do. The problem is Mt. Gox got hacked, and there were some nefarious people who literally wiped out the entire exchange, and everybody's coins disappeared. Not disappear, they were taken, right? So somebody out there has from the entire exchange, so that was these kinds of exchanges are what are called honeypots, because if you think about it, if a hacker wants to get $1 million, they could go to your exchange and get a few dollars from everybody. But if you're the custodian of your own keys and you have 1,000 and 1,000 other people, have their own 1,000, then basically they would have to go to 1,000 people's accounts and steal $1,000 at a time, instead of going to one place, the exchange, and I can just take it all. That's why we call it a honeypot, because everything is there. So that's what we mean. You're giving them custodian control, but that also means that you don't have the control. And so it comes with its own risks. Okay.
So now I'm What is better? Is it better for us to hold our own keys, or is it better for us to have this kind of platform where we're able to manage things? Is there a point where we should be taking our own keys? How do we get those keys? What will we do with that?
Now, this is the question, Kevin. I'm so glad that you asked. So right on. Yes, I would say this. And I think at the beginning, you should go with an exchange. It is relatively secure. There's thousands of people on there. So at the beginning, I think it is a nice, safe way for you to put a little bit of money, not your rent money, of course, but your cash flow. You can put it in there, and then it will also give you a chance to kind of see how the market goes, the ups and the downs, and you can kind of get more comfortable. But the rule of thumb that I tell people that I care about is once you get to about that $500, maybe $1,000 range, it's time to start thinking about moving your money off the exchange into what we call a colder wallet. So there are several temperatures. We use the temperature scale of wallets. These hottest wallets, these exchanges, are the least secure, but the easiest to use. And then the colder wallets, and we can talk about types of those, are far more secure, but far less convenient. Okay. So at the beginning, it's good to use the exchange. But once you get in the space and you get your feet wet, and now you have some Bitcoin and some other coins, and you kind of got a little bag, you're going to want to take control over that bag.
Okay. So this exchange then gives us kind of an opportunity to practice our trading. Gives us an opportunity to kind of practice, what are we going to do? So in my world as a life insurance agent, that would be kind of like the difference between having a bank account and a cash value life insurance policy. So you've got, your bank account where you're able to have the cash that you exchange or move around on a regular basis. But then you take the money that you are going to park for a while or to store in a secure place, and you put that in your life insurance policy so that it's inaccessible to thieves or the government or anybody else.
Exactly right.
Okay. So that makes perfect sense to me. And I hope that makes sense to you ladies as well. If you have any questions about this, please feel free to reach out to myself or Husan. You see his information on the bottom of the screen. You can reach him through Instagram, direct message, or of course you can reach out to me anytime on the website via my Instagram or my email, and we'll be able to answer questions. You can also make sure that if you do have a question, you want to, just put something out there for everyone to be conscious of, make a comment underneath this video. And that way we'll all be aware of what the concern is. And then we can also, myself or Husan, can reply to that message on the link here. And that way everyone will be able to see what the reply and response and the solution is to support us in our growth process. Okay. So now we've gotten to the point where we understand there are several wallets. It's kind of like a wallet and a pocketbook and, tote bag.
Right. Duffel bag, all of them.
We're growing. And so as we start with our initial wallet, now on the Black Wall Street, we can start with just the Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the most secure on the digital currency exchanges right now.
Correct. It is by far the most secure, the most popular, the most valuable. If you're just getting into the crypto space, stick with Bitcoin. Listen,
okay, so explain to us why.
Sure.
Right. Go ahead.
Let me say this. Okay. I don't care what your cousin told you. I don't care what you heard at the barbershop. I don't care. Start with Bitcoin. A lot of times we get into this space because we want to what's called secure a bag, right? We want to get in low, it's hype, and we want to try to see it grow. But the fact of the matter is this is actually an entire landscape, and money is really one of the very first, obviously most important, but one of the very first use cases for this cryptocurrency landscape. And so the reason that I say start with Bitcoin is because it is universally considered the cryptocurrency standard. It is the most secure. It is the most popular. It is the most widely available. It is what we call hard money, which means that over time, it will increase in value. And if I could, I will compare that to some of these poop coins, and I'll use SafeMoon as an example. SafeMoon has no particular function. It does not limit its supply. So when you think about the dollar, and how they could just print more dollars. The same reality is in crypto with some of these coins.
Wow.
And so when you're just following trends, somebody's going to be caught with the hot potato, and you certainly don't want it to be you. But
Yeah.
when you're buying Bitcoin, then you're buying what is considered digital assets or digital real estate, which
Mhm.
means that is something that you could pass on to your children and your children's children, and it will continue to be valuable over time. And that's a smart way to start. Once you get it, yeah, maybe you want to venture out and have some fun with some of these lotto coins or the high risk coins. But at the beginning, stick with Bitcoin.
Yeah, it's kind of like the difference between going with a mutual fund or going with options, because I know the options go up and down quick and fast, but then if you're going in with a mutual fund, you've got some stability there because you've got multiple companies, you've got some foundation, that it's going to grow at a steady rate, and you don't have to worry about putting your money in and taking your money out real quick, but you can leave it there and know that it's going to grow. I've also heard Bitcoin compared to, just like you compared some of the safe moon to the currency, the dollar, it being just, printable and, unlimited amounts. Whereas Bitcoin is compared to gold, and it's a gold standard of digital currency, because there is a limited amount of the Bitcoin that will be available. And because of that is where the value is going to increase in the future, and where we can put our confidence in it being around, and being available, whether it's at a higher price or a lower price. Now, we did see it recently drop. So, that's significant for us to pay attention to. But what does that mean, for the person who's getting into the market?
That's a great question, because it brings up in my mind this term called unit bias.
Mm-hmm.
Bitcoin, if I was to look at it today, is probably $36,000. Yesterday, it was around $32,000. Now,
Okay.
let's say you bought it at $32,000 and it went up to $36,000. That means that, relatively speaking, your cryptocurrency has gained $4,000, right? If you bought one Bitcoin.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good day. Awesome. At the same time, though, if you and for from 32 to 34 is less than 1x, just to be clear, it's about 1x, But if you were to buy something that cost a penny and it went to $1, it only went up from a penny to $1 versus you went from up $4,000. But because you own a penny, it's really 100x.
Right.
I know I'm over explaining, but the idea here is that a lot of people are tempted to buy cryptocurrencies that are relatively cheap, a couple dollars, not even 1 penny, with the expectation that they will blow up. But those are very, very risky. Versus something like cryptocurrency called Bitcoin. Well, again, since we consider it digital land, if you buy it at 32, but you plan to use it as legacy wealth, which means you're passing it on to your child, then that would be more like taking $1 and leaving it in a safe deposit box for a generation. By the time your kid gets to that dollar, it might not be worth anything to them. But if
Right.
you left diamonds in there, if you left a deed, if you left a mortgage in that safety deposit box,
Yeah.
by the time your child got to it, that they would have something. And so I just want people to think about Bitcoin as digital gold. And so what you want to do for the long term is acquire more, because like you said, no one can go out there and print anymore. So when you got it, that is a beautiful thing.
Right, right. And so that brings to point, I guess, a few other things that we really need to kind of focus in on for our community as well. Recognizing that we have over $1 trillion of power, of spending power within our community collectively,
Every year.
every year. And that's a huge influence in the marketplace, that we need to pay attention to how we are valuing that $1 trillion, because
That's exactly
especially
right.
at this pivotal stage, we know that we're coming to the end of, the pandemic. Things are, dying down, so to speak. Things are opening up again. And, life is going to get back to what people, call normal, and I just, say, okay, it's going to be maybe closer to what we saw as familiar before the pandemic, but our normal has completely changed,
It
and
has.
so we have to be conscious of those changes as well, in the financial world, because we're looking at the opportunity for inflation and seeing that increase of inflation drastically within a short period of time because we saw the printing of
Almost $2
billions of
trillion.
dollars.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was a lot.
billions of dollars, absolutely, almost $1 trillion, billions of dollars in such a short period of time. And so that's what we're talking about. That unlimited supply does not mean, unlimited value. Actually, the more supply there is, the lower the value becomes, right?
That's why we don't use sand as money, because anybody could just go out to the sand with a bucket and just get more, and that's the problem that we have is if you add up the value of all three stimulus packages that have been released over the course of COVID, the increase in the money supply was 25%. So this is a huge amount of money that was flooded into the market. And there's something else you mentioned. I'm sorry if I cut you off, but
no, go ahead.
Just to reemphasize, we do control more than $1 trillion every year. And if we were just to add a few more statistics to that, if we were a GDP, we would be, I believe, the 6th or the 8th largest country on the planet just within our community. And to add to that, Black women represent 70% of those spending dollars. And so when you talk about real power, ladies, we can't touch that. This is a lot of power. And so I think one of the things that I value about this show is that it helps women in your community to recognize that power and make power moves.
Absolutely. And just for those, because, I like to make sure that we are being educated from the very elementary levels. GDP is gross domestic product. And when we're talking about gross domestic product, we're talking about being able to do, exchange the major items that we purchase. It's a monetary measure of the market value of all final goods and services produced in a specific time period. So, we're talking about our toilet paper, our paper towels, our, shoes and clothing and food, all those kinds of things, that gross domestic product that we're talking about. And so it's significant because that is where we're going to see the inflation as well. The inflation is going to be on our GDP. I think I heard it. I heard it mentioned on a news program that the price of toilet paper and the price of paper towels and the price of, general things like Lysol have already gone up. If we look at the price from, today versus a year and a half ago, long before the pandemic even hit. And then, of course, because of the drastic demand for those things during the initial phase of the pandemic, of course, the companies were out of supply, and then, of course, they couldn't make it. And so it's like, okay, now being able to have these things is a bonus for us, but now they're more luxury items because they're more critical. We recognize they're more critical. It's kind of like recognizing now that our essential workers are not just doctors and nurses, but they're also the grocery store workers and the delivery people,
the teachers, the EMTs, right?
Who have continued to be on the front line and out in the forefront, making sure that our daily lives could continue to run while everybody was quarantined or locked down, and so it's just a shift in our thinking.
But this is what's so exciting about the future of money, because when we realize that these essential workers who we cannot, our society cannot function well without them, they're also the ones who are getting the least paid and the least valued. And so it really does push us to decide what our real priorities are. And in the crypto space, especially with a hard money like Bitcoin, it is something that it creates an opportunity where we can catch up faster than we would using other means, like chasing after other ways to try to catch up. Cryptocurrency and being an early investor in cryptocurrency makes a measurably bigger difference for people in our community who are still figuring out how to even pass wealth down by generations. When I think about in my own family, my grandfather didn't have a house or major property to pass down to my mother, and my mother didn't have much to pass down to me. So I promise I'm going to make sure that when I pass some things down to my son, it'll be something of significant value. So it is definitely our time.
Yeah, and it is time for us to pay attention to how we're operating so that we don't continue to operate from a space of being disadvantaged. And I say that on many levels because, while we're talking about having a wallet on the digital currency, world, in this, being able to understand what it even means to have real estate there, we're still in this community struggling to set up actual real estate in the real world. When you think about the number of businesses during, of course, the commemoration period for Black Wall Street, I did some personal research and I was shocked to find out that the census from just last year, from 2020, identified that the Black business market is the smallest business market in the United States.
Wow. I did not know that. Send that to me because I really want to read that. But
yeah, I will. The Asian market is about 5 times greater than ours.
Wow.
In terms of business owners.
And they pale in comparison to our population.
Yeah. On the census reports that I read, they didn't even mention the amount of financial contribution to, the spending for the year from the Black market versus the Asian market or the Hispanic market, or even the indigenous market. It's like, it wasn't even acknowledged. And to me, that's disgraceful. But I really believe that it's because we're not paying attention to it. If we were paying attention to it and looking for those numbers, they would have to provide those numbers. We're not looking for those numbers. And so they're not providing them. And so we don't even know that they're not there because we're not looking.
They say the best place to hide money is in a book, and that's one of the things that, stereotypical, but it's, something we can relate to. And
the stereotypes come from somewhere.
Exactly. And which brings up an important point. So I want to say this, you guys, if you're struggling to pay rent, don't buy crypto. If you are, if you have to really work to make ends meet, then the crypto space is too speculative. It's too risky. And so I just want to remember and remind folks while we're talking about it, work on the foundations. This building legacy wealth is not sexy. Okay. It takes discipline. It takes really paying attention to what's going on around your finances. So just, lay your foundation, get a couple months ahead before you invest in crypto. Make sure that you're insured so that your kids have something in case anything goes wrong. Build the foundation first before you start going up to this crypto. It's just far too aggressive for someone who doesn't have proper cash flow and good margins. I just want to put that out there.
Absolutely. And for those who are, wondering, okay, so, how do I fit in here? The encouragement as well, you have to have a bank account in order to set up a digital wallet. So if you don't have a bank account, you don't even qualify for this conversation. That's where we need to make sure that we're taking the initial encouragement to make sure that we're managing our finances in real life. That currency that we can hold in our hands, that paycheck that you receive every week. If we're still going to check cashing places and payday loaners, then we're not managing our money in a way that is going to help us to just simply balance the budget. Because if we're doing that, then we're already paying out more money than we need to from the small income that we're getting. And that is the money that could actually be going into cryptocurrency.
Kevin, you're bringing up something so true. I mean, these these payday loans, and I mean, the interest rate that they charge is disgraceful. I mean, upwards of 20%, 30% is not okay. High interest credit cards, not okay. That's how they keep poor people poor. And so
can I just say this? I'm sorry, Husan, I have to interrupt you. I'm going to say this because, y'all hear me say this and I say it so passionately. I say it because I've been there. I say it because I've done it. Rent a center, paying 5 times as much for some furniture, trying to look cute.
Furniture.
Place. Really? Like, no, we don't need to do that. Go without furniture, or go with a one piece, that you can pay for and build onto it. Save your money every week, put it in an account where it's going to grow interest, and maybe then once you've gotten the interest to grow to a certain amount, then you take the interest and use that interest to purchase your furniture or whatever products you want to have in addition. But that's where we need to start thinking. We have to look at where is the money going to work for us, because we as people have worked so hard for money and ended up with so little to show for it. And I think about, let me tell you, look, I think about where I started from, just from me transitioning into my new life, and any of you sisters, any of you brothers who have seen, or heard about my story, and you understand where I've come from. I started from absolutely nothing. People say, oh, you hit rock bottom. I built up from the dust. Okay. People talk about being broke. I was under broke. I've been there. I know what it looks like, so when I tell you don't go get a payday loan, I'm telling you because I did it and I wasted money and I didn't have money. I think about the thousands of dollars, the hundreds of thousands of dollars I gave away in that process. But I had to shift my thinking into recognizing that, you know what, I need to make sure that I've got money for my future. Forget my kids and their grandkids and the future generations. Who's going to provide for me when I get to 70 or 80 and I'm not able to work? If I'm not able to work, and even if I'm able to work, who says I'm going to want to work every day?
And here's the thing. Really, the difference between someone in this deficit mindset and someone who's building wealth is not about how much they make. It's about how much they keep. And changing one's perspective is a huge thing. And so the money is there if you're willing to live up to the level of discipline that's required. Maybe you're not buying no lotto tickets, bro. Maybe on the alcohol, on the weekends, the wine, maybe you're not buying that bottle of wine every weekend anymore. It's there. There are places where we pour our money because we're coping with the stress of our reality that we could then use to empower us financially. But I did want to pivot to the whole other side of the extreme, because we have people that have bags, and they want to jump in here. And my hesitation to you guys also is don't get too aggressive, because it is the Wild West frontier out here. And if you get some news and, you start chasing after these poop coins and they crash on you, you're going to lose real money. And the other thing about this space that I want to warn people about is the scammers. There were people who will start dropping into your inbox. There'll be people who start telling you about all of these amazing deals. But the old message is true. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. So it's really, even if you have a bag and you're ready to invest, I would say think about dollar cost averaging. Do a little bit. Watch how it goes, invest a little bit more, educate yourself, get smart so that you're making wise moves, even if money isn't the limiting factor. So I just wanted to put that out there for your audience
too. And we're for the digital space. We are absolutely for cryptocurrency, which is why we're sharing this information. But I know for me, one of the things that I feel so confident and excited about is that I have all my other foundational things set up. I've got my investments. I've got my insurance. I've got my bank accounts. I've got, my savings for the future. I've got my retirement account already set up. And that money is not going into cryptocurrency. What I have going into cryptocurrency is my play money. This is my allowance every week that I give myself in order to, and that's the money that I use. If y'all haven't seen it yet, go to my website and check out the blog about the $1 a day savings challenge. And that is the money that we can use, whether you're saving $1 a day or a dime a day or a quarter a day, play around with your kids, get them involved with this and say, hey, come on, Antonio, come on, Tasha, let's go ahead and let's save a nickel a day, and at the end of the month we're going to open up a cryptocurrency wallet and we'll put that money in there, because that's the extra. That's not money for your food, that's not money for your rent, that's not money for your insurance, whether it's your auto insurance, your home insurance, or your life insurance. We need to make sure that we have our priorities in order and that we're not spending our necessity money on, like you said, going out for the weekend or splurging on dinner because we need to feel good. No, don't go out for salmon. Go buy some salmon, have something at home, fix a nice meal and enjoy, for yourself. My treat is some wine and popcorn. So I get a nice little bottle of wine. I have my popcorn and I sit down and watch a movie. And we have to find ways to increase our joy. But that's where the mindset shift comes in. It's like we have that mindset that we're able to be content within ourselves with what we have, because we know that we have enough. Because we know that we have enough, then we don't go scared money into the marketplace because, I need to make a quick $1,000 and let me see, where I can put this and pull it out real quick and we don't want to play games like that. We want to make sure that we're being conscious. If you have that $1,000, it's because it's extra. It's because that's your allowance money that you've given yourself to play around with for the week. Just like, you wouldn't take your rent money to Vegas. We just don't do that. Or those are things that we want to discourage our community from doing. We want to make sure that we are being encouraged to have a solid foundation so that then we can grow up from there. Okay. So getting back onto the point for the cryptocurrency, you talked about that there are a couple of different currencies that you wanted to make us aware of, and what are the differences between them when we look at the marketplace?
Well, if you don't mind, I actually want to close out a little bit more information about the wallets.
Okay, yeah, please.
And then I'll talk about some picks. So for me, we talked about the hottest wallets, which are these exchanges. And those are the exchanges where you'll give up your ID, you'll give up your identifying information and work with someone that's easy. There are a few levels, and we won't go through them all. But what I will do is talk about what we call a cold wallet, right? So there are warm wallets and other types. But anyway, a cold wallet is actually a piece of hardware. It is a piece of is a device that almost looks like a USB. In fact, let's see if I can open this. I actually got my Nano Ledger. I got one in the mail. So,
nice.
Yeah. Well, it's a piece of hardware. It looks a little bit like a USB device. Okay. And what this thing does is it has a software embedded in it that allows you to then manage your own keys. And so what you would do at that point is go to your exchange, maybe it's your Cash App or your Black Wall Street app, and then you would instruct it to send those keys to your public address, which is on your particular wallet. And so this device is what is called a cold wallet because it is not connected to the internet, right? That's the problem with the honeypots, is that they're on the internet so the hackers can get to it. But when you put your digital information on this, it's not on the internet, it's sitting in my box. And so then it's a lot safer from hackers and it's far more secure. So having a cold wallet means that you would have your keys. Your keys are like a private passphrase that allows you to get access to your money. And this, once you get there, and we'll continue to give you some information to help you along the way. But once you get there, you certainly want to move that money from the exchange onto your wallet so that you have control over your currency.
Right. So once you've got your cold wallet, then you can either take that and place it in a safe in your home so that it is inaccessible for anyone else but you, or you can place it in a safe deposit box, because those are the two things that will provide the security that you need in addition.
Now, since we're talking about that, let's also really think about what that means in terms of legacy wealth building, because as they say, not your keys, not your crypto, which means when you get to that level of having your own cold wallet, you also want to have contingency plans in case something does happen to you. If no one knows your private keys, then all of that wealth that you've been building is going to be lost forever. So also make sure that you think about who do you trust or where can you provide access just in case you need to. And really, if we're thinking about it in terms of our kids, onboarding them, as you mentioned, teaching our kids about crypto so that they understand and then they're comfortable in that space, so that when it is their time to take over, they'll know what's going on. That's the level of thinking that we need to be on.
Absolutely. And that is where we also can take into account our estate planning, because we definitely want to make sure that if that's something we're going to put into a trust, if we've got that in a safe deposit box and we, want to make sure that it's passed on to the right person, we want to make sure that we have established a trust, that we've got that information, through our attorneys and secure in a place so that it will only go into the hands legally of who we want it to go into, similar to a beneficiary for an insurance policy, and making sure that the only person who receives those benefits is the person who is assigned to receive those benefits. And you can do that by establishing an estate plan. And you can talk to an attorney in your community, whoever you feel confident and comfortable with, that you can trust to establish your final affairs and your final plans the way that you would want to, and to make sure that they're carried out in harmony with your will, your last will and testament. And so it makes sense for us to just get those things in order. It's for a long time in our community, people have been so afraid. We think that, planning for our estate, planning for our final affairs means that we're going to die tomorrow. And no, that's not the case. No, right. Y'all, we're not dying tomorrow. If you listen every first Wednesday of the month, we've got Health is Wealth. So we're talking about how to be physically healthy, how to be mentally healthy, how to live longer. Because we want to be able to enjoy our lives. But that's exactly it. It's increasing the quality of not only our lives, but also future generations. And as we continue to build, if we don't have anything to pass on, then we've defeated the purpose.
Now, when it comes to picks, I want to go ahead and offer two for you guys to do your due diligence. Remember, this is not financial advice. We're not your attorney. We're not your public accountant. Right. But there are some opportunities that I think you should look into and maybe do some more research. If I was to say 5 picks, number 1 would be Bitcoin. Number 2 would be Bitcoin. Number 3 would be Bitcoin. Okay.
All right. Now, what's number 4 and 5?
All right. For number 4, I actually have been spending a lot of time with a token called Husan AI. And this is actually a cybersecurity project. And so their job is to ensure people how to secure their cryptocurrency. So this project takes you through everything from how to set a good password to how to do settings on your telephone to ensure that it is a secure device and no one can get into it. You'd be surprised how many times you might walk away from your phone and it is totally unlocked. Right. And just like in other areas, the most likely people to take advantage of you are actually people that are in your sphere. And so just keeping in mind that protecting your crypto has a lot to do with just basic security. Securing your browser and your computer, it gives a lot of things. And I think that would be a good place for people to start. They do have a token. It is called HAI. So because I'm a believer in the project and I'm a big advocate for cybersecurity, I am going to go ahead and throw them out for people to research. The other one, and my 5th pick, is Cardano, which is also ADA if you look up that ticker. Now, Cardano is designed to be competition for Ethereum. And Ethereum is designed to be competition for Bitcoin. So Ethereum has run into a bit of a scaling problem. Ethereum was able to do transactions faster, but once it got bigger, other projects were able to use the Ethereum blockchain. In other words, their highway to do transactions. And because Ethereum has become so popular, there's actually a lot of backlogging. There's a lot of traffic because a lot of people are using it. And because of that, it has forced the transaction fees to go up. So Ethereum is actually very expensive now. Mm-hmm. And then along comes Cardano. So Cardano is using a different type of protocol, which is called proof of stake. And that makes the process go a lot faster and a lot easier. And so there's a lot of interest in Cardano. Now, I did warn people against something called unit bias. But I will say this, for those of you who are looking for a big return, with Bitcoin having a particular price around 36,000, right now, Cardano has a price of under $2. And so if you are highly motivated in getting something low that has the potential to go very high, then Cardano would be something for you to consider. But again, you have to keep in mind, this is a very risky space because Ethereum is far ahead of Cardano, far more popular, but it does have this problem. And so this is what we talk about when we say high risk, high reward. There's no guarantee that Cardano is going to overtake Ethereum. So you have to decide if you're willing to take that risk. You could totally lose your money and Ethereum stays in the dominant position, or you could stay with Ethereum. And the next thing you know, here comes Cardano sweeping by. So these are the risks that you always have to consider when getting into this crypto space. So I just wanted to throw that out there as my top 5.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. And on top of that, I would just like to encourage that all of what we do in this space, and really with any of our currency, any of our money, any of our finances in terms of management, is about maintaining a positive perspective. When we look at the risk that is involved, we have to make sure that we are weighing the opportunities with the losses. and making sure that we're putting ourselves in a position that the loss is not so great that we would feel, some kind of way about it in terms of, our real life, our making sure that we're stable on a day-to-day basis with our families. We've seen in the past where, finances have affected people to the point where they've had great losses and then there was a loss of life behind that. And we never want to see anybody participate in that kind of money management. And the encouragement is to just make sure that you've got your mindset straight. And one way to do that is to download, if you go to moreandmorelife.com and you're able to download the ebook there. The ebook that I have there is the Mindful Money Moment ebook. It's a journal which actually highlights the opportunity that people will have for journaling their thoughts around mindset in the 5 main areas. That's mental mindset, the emotional mindset, the spiritual mindset, the physical mindset, as well as the financial mindset in terms of the basic budget. When we understand how we feel about these things or what we're thinking about these things, then we're able to put into perspective what our actions would be to follow up. And so we want to make sure that when we're making the decisions that we are to put our money in specific spaces or in secure places, or even taking risk, that we're able to enjoy, the fun of it, but we minimize the tragedy of loss that goes along with that. And it only comes with our awareness, our consciousness, our being, very clear about how much money we have to put in these places in order to grow, and how we're growing our money in real life, aside from the digital markets.
Now you got me over here taking notes. Now I got mental, I got emotional, I got financial. What were those other two? This is good.
The mental, the emotional, the physical, the spiritual, the physical, and then the financial. So mental, emotional, spiritual, physical, and financial. And those 5 areas are the 5 areas of mindset that I discuss, on the website, in my seminars and workshops, when I, discuss our transformation of mind, and our transforming our minds and transforming our money, in order to thrive. And as we look at that space, those 5 areas on the mindset side, that helps us to be clear about what emotions are driving us to make the decisions that we make. We already have habits. The question is whether the habits we currently have are good or bad. Are they going to benefit us, or are they going to be to our detriment? And that's what makes them good or bad. And so in identifying how we can improve them so that we're able to have greater benefit from our habits, and to improve. And by doing that, we're able to increase our quality of life. And that's what it's all about.
I agree completely. You guys, Kevette is over here dropping gems. Okay. My sis is on fire right now. So if you like what's going on, make sure you leave a comment below. Yeah, these 5 things are really breakthrough. And I'm going to kind of really reflect on these, because they can help me to set my priorities, really determine what's important. And that's key.
Absolutely. And so when you go to the website and you download that free ebook, you will also find out the other 5 areas of money management, which I'm not going to tell you. But you'll be able to get that information. Yeah, get the book, and then be able to do all your journaling. Once you've got that journaling down, reach out to me for a clarity connection, because then we can identify what is your main interest, what is the next best step for you. And it's not always about looking at the big picture. You got to have a big picture. You got to have a dream. You got to have a destination where you want to end up, where you want to be in the future. But what we need to look at right now is what is your best next step. So if you don't even have a bank account, that best next step is going to be getting a bank account. If you got a bank account, but you end up with insufficient funds every month, then the next best step is that we're going to do a budget so we can manage and make sure that you do not end up paying your cryptocurrency money to the bank and fees every month. Because that $35, that $50 from some banks could actually mean the difference between your being able to create a secure crypto digital wallet where you're able to enter this digital currency field, which is the next shift in our payments. I mean, there are actually businesses around the world that are accepting cryptocurrency for payment of goods.
Not only that, but there are El Salvador recently, as a nation, has declared Bitcoin as legal tender, which means a
Wow.
whole nation is now using
Yeah.
Bitcoin as
I didn't even know
money.
that. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's happening. And so what that
Yeah.
also means is now that more and more countries are formally getting involved, we've already heard news about large institutions formally getting involved. What that means is for people like us, our window is starting to close. So
Right.
make sure you get your financial literacy together, make sure you get your budget basics together so that you can find that cash flow, which allows you to get into this space with confidence.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that's so key thing. And that's crazy because I hadn't even heard that yet. You know, I got to catch up on my news this week, but it's like things are happening so quick, you know, in the world today. And we have to make sure, ladies, we have to make sure that we are using multiple resources. I am one resource for you. I'm here for your mindset. I'm here for your money management, but there are other resources where you're going to be able to go and get more information that's going to be specific in one niche area. You know, so there are some folks who, Husan, I thank you so much for coming on the show and sharing this information. And we're going to talk more about your class creation because you'll be teaching a class coming up soon. But we'll have you on again next month and we'll talk a little bit more about the details and you know, about the class and why it's important for us to take a class so that we understand how to move through this process, why it's necessary for us to be guided, educated, and supported through this process of becoming knowledgeable about our finances and being able to take good actions to benefit us not only now, but in our future. You know, so I thank you so much for coming to share that information with us today about the wallets and about the different kinds of currency that we need to be conscious of. We can look for these things now. And of course, everyone, please, 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 you want to go and visit theblackwallstreet.com. Initially, that was a website where you could register so that when they went live, you would receive a notification. I believe you can still put your email there for updates. But even at this point, because the platform has gone live, either in your iOS app store or in your Play Store on Google, then you want to go in and register for The Black Wall Street, which is Hill Harper's Black Wall Street app. And start to get your digital wallet prepared. You don't have to have any money to put in it right now. The thing is, if you have the wallet, when you get the money, you'll know where to put it. That's the key
information. And I also will issue a challenge to anyone who wants to join us on this journey. If you do download the wallet and you do decide to get into what we call the accumulation game, decide what is your daily or weekly number and just put just that little bit. It could be as little as $10 a week. As she said with the kids, 5 cents a day. Determine what that number is that you can commit to the savings, because you will see that that will then snowball into your future.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much again for that encouragement, Husan. Ladies and gentlemen, please feel free to connect with Husan Thompson at Husan Thompson on Instagram. And being able to, of course, come here for more information about his course coming up. We'll be back in July on the second Wednesday talking about money talks, BS walks, and understanding more about cryptocurrency. So thank you so much for joining us today. And feel free to send in any of your questions, make your comments below, like, share, and subscribe. And we'll see you the next time. Thank you so much for joining us for Well Wealthy Women. And take care. We'll see you.